Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Hollywood is coming for podcasting. And the Golden Globes is actually going to have a podcast category, but they're going to cut out a lot of the top podcasts because they're too controversial and only promote the Hollywood
but they're
ones.
all Hollywood podcasts. It sounds like for the most part, they're buddies. So we're going to have a new podcast category, guys. But we're not going to actually pick the podcast everybody listens to. We're going to pick our buddies and let them be nominated because they're Hollywood people. And they're one of us and probably pay dues to the unions. So
yeah, so this is another example of the establishment letting other people take the risks first. And then once it's safe, once it becomes, the norm, just like YouTube, right? Just like we were in the webcomic space, just like digital comics, all that stuff. Once it's safe, once they let other people go first and they realize that there's money to be made, here they all come. That's why they're all coming for podcasting. They're all coming for YouTube, because it used to be that this was the minor leagues. If you couldn't make it in Hollywood, you couldn't make it on CNN, you couldn't whatever, you'd go start a podcast. Everybody'd start a podcast. In fact, Mark Maron just ended WTF, and my understanding of the story was that he wasn't going anywhere in Hollywood, so he just kind of, as a what the hell, start a podcast, right? Because that's what the losers did. You start a podcast, then they turned into big business. Weirdly, because podcasts were huge 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and then they just kind of died off as YouTube came in, and now they're back again. But now it's video podcast, right? So it's different. But we're going to talk about this because this is all about, again, Hollywood promoting itself, promoting its own. And a lot of it, I believe, is inorganic. We know a little inside baseball in the podcast game. But yeah, we're going to look at some of these names, and it's going to become very apparent that this is definitely just another Hollywood circle jerk. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
woohoo!
Go out to more.clownfishtv.com. That's more.clownfishtv.com for more Clownfish TV. And that's mostly podcasts. Yeah, podcasts you will not find over here on YouTube. So let's look at the charts here. This is just Spotify. This is not Apple. But look at who the top podcasters are. We got Joe Rogan. Obviously. We got Theo Vaughn, who's, he's kind of middle of the road. Tucker Carlson, we got Candace Owens, we got all these right-wing political talking heads, and they're kind of parked in the top.
Well, I think the Amy Poehler one is actually one that gets to be nominated because she's a Hollywood person.
Now, her show I know is actually popular, but some of these, we have seen some of these deals go through, these podcast deals, and these people getting massive amounts of money. And I'm not going to go into detail, and I'm not going to put targets on people, but there are some people that they have paid tens of millions of dollars to because they were like reality TV stars or whatever. And I know for a fact that their numbers are abysmal. Like they're abysmal. But man, if you can secure that bag just because I was on this reality show 10 years ago and they're going to give me a shit ton of money, do it. But I'm just telling you, that's not a good indicator of who is actually being listened to and who's actually the most popular.
Beyond that, even some of these people that I know that are being listed as up for the award are on these popular, I know Call Her Daddy's on there and stuff. But it's funny because people said, what about this person, what about that person? And they're like, well, they're political, so that's problematic. And it seems like they only pick people that have Hollywood background. And, some of those people are very, very political, but they're just political in a certain direction.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this. It's coming from ABC. Golden Globes enters the world of podcasts and treads carefully, avoiding controversy.
By only picking people that lean far, far left or, aren't political at all.
But the problem is that most of the top podcasts are political. They're either politics or comedy.
Some of the ones that are done by Hollywood. They definitely are political. Or the people that are hosting them are out there talking politics all the damn time. But that's okay because they're one of them.
The Golden Globes have introduced the best podcast category that's likely to spark conversation. That means people are going to be pissed off. The 6 nominees for the inaugural Best Podcast Award are Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. Call Her Daddy, which, again, here she is. Alex Cooper, massive deal. I think it was $100 million or some crazy ass amount of money she got for that, which is insane. Good Hang with Amy Poehler. The Mel Robbins podcast and Smartless. and up first from NPR. Smartless, I think, is Bateman's, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, representing a mix of news, advice, and celebrity interviews. They were drawn from a short list of 25 programs the Globes had previously deemed eligible. The nominations avoided politics or controversy by passing on popular podcasts from the shortlist, such as conservative-leaning shows like The Megyn Kelly Show, The Tucker Carlson Show, The Ben Shapiro Show, The Candace Owens Show, and most notably, The Joe Rogan Experience, the most popular podcast on the fucking planet. And he's not even, I wouldn't even consider Joe Rogan right-wing. He doesn't consider himself
No, I don't think so. He said now the left-leaning Pod Save America was also snubbed, as were popular crime podcasts.
Like more, yeah, Rotten Mango, I know.
Because you know why? Because those ones don't have hosts that are Hollywood people.
That is probably what's going on. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just, yeah, of course. I mean, it's the Golden Globes. Does anybody?
They're trying to keep, we can't let the plebs in. It has to be all our people, because our people are paying dues to the unions, and they're trying to get their asses into the unions. They're trying to get into podcasts and onto YouTube channels, stuff like that. The writers and things are trying to get themselves deals as far as podcasting is concerned. So we're going to open podcasts for awards, and then that gives us a better, door to go in and shove union shit through.
Okay, so you want to know what's going to happen to YouTube. You want to know the direction YouTube is going in. This is the direction they want to go in with it. They want everything to be safe, vetted by Hollywood, and then they'll do award shows, whatever. And the new CEO of YouTube, Neil Mohan, he's all about this. He's all about the Hollywood circle jerk. They'll have, I think they have a YouTube award show or something, but they'll create one that's like just for Hollywood, the best of YouTube, and it's going to be Hollywood all celebrity. People. It's going to be all celebrities.
And then they said they're talking here. They're trying to build themselves as an award show that's for the masses and non-controversial, celebrating the best in entertainment. Well, you're not truly celebrating the best in entertainment, then, are you? I have in this political sideshow. I think they just wanted to avoid that. All of Hollywood is a political sideshow. How many times these award shows we have to listen to the celebrities accept their award and then give a whole political hot take speech? It happens all the damn time, but it's okay because it leans a certain direction.
Right.
And that's what I have a problem with. But don't tell me it's the best in entertainment. It can't be the best if you're admitting you're limiting everything down to these ones because they're who we accept. That doesn't mean you're giving out to the best.
Let's see here. Reaction to the apparent snubbing of politics-related podcast Monday was light with a handful of ex-users. No, I'll tell you why it was light. Because a lot of people, podcasting is kind of its own thing. Like, we actually came from podcasts before we were doing YouTube. Actually, Clownfish TV was a podcast originally years before we were doing YouTube. And then we had a Disney one years before we were doing, like, that was actually the very first thing I think we did. And it's a very different scene. And we talk about how people tend to stay where you find them. Well, people that are in the podcast space tend to stay on Apple, on Spotify, in their forums, whatever. They're not crossing over too much with YouTube and with, what I'm saying, with X and stuff like that. But everybody knows Joe Rogan, right? But that's why you can look at these podcast lists and you're like, who the hell is this person? And why do they have so many followers? It's like, because they're in their own little ecosystem. But they said, reaction to the apparent snubbing of politics-related podcasts early Monday was light, with a handful of ex-users weighing in with criticism that high-ranking programs from personalities like Rogan and Manosphere podcaster Theo Vaughn had been left off the final cut. There was no direct reaction from the hosts themselves. Probably they're like, wait, the Golden Globes, who gives a shit? Shapiro, though, Ben Shapiro launched an all-out Golden Globes publicity campaign for his decade-old podcast, on which he spoke with the likes of J.D. Vance and Zelensky in the past year. In addition to making the rounds with industry publications, Shapiro also secured massive billboard space in Times Square. So the 25 potential candidates, including the New York Times, The Daily, and Barstool Sports, pardon my take, mostly matched up with the most listened to shows, except they cut out like the top 10.
Yeah, no, because they're too political, but they're saying, but like I said, again, they're saying that's the case, but it just seems like most of the ones they picked have ties to Hollywood.
Yes, no, that almost all of the ones they picked have ties. That's the thing. So, like, look, did you expect the Hollywood-backed Golden Globes to let non-Hollywood vetted people be nominated for an award that could help their careers in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Like but this is what's going to happen to YouTube. That's why I wanted to talk about this, because this is exactly what is going to happen to YouTube. They're going to come in, they're going to start their own talk shows or whatever, YouTube channels, whatever. And the people that are going to get seen the most, the people that are going to get promoted, the people that are going to get awards, whenever there's an article about YouTubers, it's going to be about the Hollywood vetted YouTubers.
Well, here I'm listening to this. They said eligible podcasts had to have original content and must be released at least 6 episodes between the 1st and the 30th of 2025, September 30th, 2025.
Okay.
Each episode had to have a minimum length of 30 minutes. And then they're saying that many podcast experts were left scratching their heads since the Globes didn't use any categories for its long list. And it was a bit murky about it, what constituted a best podcast: quality of production, consistency, how the stories were told, raw numbers. They didn't say. But then the controversy was almost immediate, because after the initial announcement, when it was revealed that Luminate Data was going to be the one, the analytics company would be the ones creating the shortlist, Luminate belongs to Penske Media, which owns the Globes.
Oh.
And they said, then there's accompanying costs associated with traditional ad campaigns of the Word, pages of Variety, or Hollywood Reporter that are also owned by Penske.
Oh my God, you can't make this up, right? This is just like one big giant circle jerk.
They said the more digitally friendly shows like the Webby Awards, the Ambles, was that what says? Ambles,
the Ambies, iHeartRadio.
Yeah, iHeartRadio. I can't see because my screen's small. On the Shorty Awards, basically, they're saying that those recognize podcasting, and this is the Globe's first time, but the Globe, doing this. But then they use their own tracking stuff. I mean, we've used Luminate before, but they own it. They own the magazines people, petitioning to get nominated or get votes for, which I'm like, if your work's good enough, you shouldn't have to advertise in Variety and Hollywood Reporter to get people to vote for you. That right there sounds like a whole scam scheme anyway.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, like, Ben Shapiro, I'm like, okay, dude, like, how much money do you make, and how much money do they make from backers, from supporters? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you're taking that money and buying a billboard.
Well, it's not that expensive, I think, to buy a billboard for
in Times Square.
Well, yeah, anybody, I think, you can get time on that billboard. I mean, you might pay a few $100 for like 30 seconds, but you can get time or 10 seconds or whatever.
There I was for 30 seconds on the billboard. I'm like, but still, it's like, damn.
A lot of people pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for 30 seconds. It's their problem for not lasting longer. I'm just saying.
She had better be really good, or he, I guess. It depends. And then however many millions of dollars to shut the hell up, so you don't go tell the press that so and so is with you.
Look, but this whole thing, make no mistake, it sounds like one giant, suck ass to Hollywood. We're going to get all our Hollywood. Now, I'm not saying these podcasts aren't popular and don't have a lot of listeners. I'm not saying that. But what it sounds to me like is we just pick the people that we think you can leverage because they're celebrities in Hollywood and they're part of the system.
So here we go. This is the guy, I think, that runs it or whatever, or the guy that's whatever, the guy they're talking to here. He said he hopes the Globe Spotlight will make podcasting accessible to more people.
It's already highly accessible.
I know. He said it's a natural step as podcasting matures and starts attracting more corporate dollars. It'll open up the door for more individuals and businesses that want to use the medium to tell interesting stories, because it's got a little more respect, a little more gravitas, a little more mainstream appeal.
Translation. Now that Hollywood's legitimizing it, it's worth something. That's what they're saying. We saw the same damn thing with webcomics. It was, you were like, you were amateur hour, ha ha ha. You were like pathetic nothing burgers, until like other people started, like Mark Waid came in, and then like Webtoons, everybody wanted the money from Webtoons, and now they're getting all kinds of Hollywood deals and stuff. Now they're taking webcomics seriously, but we were treated like amateur hour for years.
Oh yeah.
But, same with
crowdfunding too. Like now you've got major corporations that are doing crowdfunding campaigns. It's actually very, very normal. You've got Mattel and Hasbro doing crowdfunding on their own website. But for years, if you did crowdfunding, it's because you were broke ass and too poor.
You were a beggar.
You were a beggar. It was a vanity project. If you were crowdfunding a comic book, it was a vanity project. You're a vanity publisher. If you were serious, if you were a real artist, you would have, gotten a publishing deal, blah, 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 blah. And now those publishing houses, a lot of them are going to Kickstarter or whatever to get the stuff done. But
this is the same thing. It's just like, we're going to acknowledge it, but we're only acknowledging the ones that are at our caliber because they're our people.
Yeah.
Because they're already celebrities. They're the ones that matter. And it's like, kindly sit and spin.
I think this is why they're pushing into YouTube, because what was going on was we had a few breakouts in Hollywood that had, podcasts, and they saw Joe Rogan. and they saw the pendulum was starting to swing away from Hollywood and into independent media. So podcasting wasn't really. Look, the reason podcasting blew up with right-wing personalities, in my opinion, is that those personalities have been chased out of every other space.
And I'm not saying it had to be right-wing people. I'm not saying, I mean, I'm all for like picking things that aren't super political, but what gets me is
where are the
they're
normal
using
people,
that.
the non-Hollywood
They're using
people?
That's it. Where are the podcasts that are popular, that are, you know, feel-good podcasts or whatever, that aren't people that are Hollywood related? Where are those nominees? They're not there. It's all, they're buddies.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's all, because there are several people in here that are not Hollywood people, that are not political, but they're not getting nominated, are they? Why isn't Mr. Ballin getting nominated? I like Mr. Ballin.
I'm just saying, it's you know, there's a lot of really popular shows that wouldn't be controversial, but they aren't your buddies in Hollywood. It's not the circle jerk and the, you know, all the people that pay their dues and that kiss your ass that you can control that are getting the awards.
Yes. So very, very interesting. So I'm just going to tell you, independent podcasters, you know, people that maybe you worked in the trenches for a decade or two, building up your podcast audience. Hollywood's coming. These people are going to take a shortcut. They're going to get a, you know, $50 million, $100 million deal. They're going to come in. They're going to walk away with a Golden Globe. How's that make you feel?
Because they're already their people. They're already the vetted, approved elite that they're allowed to have the prestige of having a Golden Globe, as opposed to, you know, you're just so and so that has a really popular show and people love you, but you know, you're not one of us. So
you're not one of us.
You can't. Golden Globes aren't for the plebs.
Every medium, like I said, they wait for individuals to blaze a trail, and then they come in and they take it over, and then they push people out, and then
it's the same people that then you're like, why does nothing change? Why does it always end up being Hollywood owned? That's what they're going to do it to YouTube. That's what they're trying to do.
That's exactly.
Even though YouTube's big because people didn't want Hollywood, they want normal people. Doesn't matter. The Hollywood always has to keep the money. They always have to be them. It has to be them that's always. I'm the center of attention. I'm the pretty one. I'm the star. Fuck off.
The house always wins, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just so tired of these like elitist, snotty bitches always, and that's a gender neutral term, always getting to be, you know, they always getting everything handed to them because they're them. It's like, screw you. Don't care. Fight me.
All right, we're going to wrap this up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.